just mentioned, hey, less than a week to the Super Bowl. We'll get to that later this week. But we're talking Cuse Hoops today. Orange coming off a solid win at BC over the weekend on Saturday. And with that, as we always do on Monday, we bring in Red Autry, brought to you by Apex and the 110 Grill in Destiny, USA. And Red, welcome in back on our normal Monday schedule here, as I think we'll be for the rest of the way this season. And take us into that game on Saturday, because that was nip and tuck there for a while. What allowed you guys to close it out there in the last 5 minutes or so?
I think, throughout the last 5 minutes, we really executed at a high level. And obviously our defense picked up, and I thought that was a difference in the game. We were very active. We got some stops. We got a couple of steals, block shots. We rebounded a couple of shots that they missed. And then on the other end, we executed. I thought, we got some easy baskets. And then we took really good shots. I know Joe got a scored out of bounds play. I know Judah had a nice pull up, and then he got a nice lob play to Jesse. Then we got Malik fouls, who made 2 free throws. So I thought we were very efficient towards the end of the game, and that was the difference, offensively and defensively.
That one stands out in my mind. Like, you got to the baseline there, like elevated, squared up. Like, it was It was weird. It kind of looked easy, but that is not an easy play that he made. He just kind of made it look easy.
No, he's that's a shot that he can make. He's really good in the mid range. He hasn't shot a lot of those this year, but he's pretty good in the mid range. And he just kind of got to a spot and elevated up. And once he elevates and gets up, it's not too many people that can kind of stop that shot. And it was a timely shot that we needed.
And, we've talked a lot in the last couple of weeks or two here about, players on the bench and how do you respond coming off the bench. That was about Chris and about Benny. Judah, I don't want to say he was benched, but, he was a longer spell on the bench earlier in the game than he has been having recently. How do you think he absorbed that? Because it felt like he took in whatever lessons needed to be learned watching the game for a second and was able to apply it after halftime.
Well, I think, the one thing I've said time again with this team is that we can go to our bench and still be pretty good. It's not a drop off. I thought Samir was playing really well, and I thought Judah kept himself engaged while he was on the bench. And cheering for his teammates. And I think, that always helps. We always talk about standing engaged in the game once you come out, cheering for your teammates, because now once you're trying to go back in, you understand what's going on. You understand the flow of the game. You don't have time to get into the game. You need to be into the game. And I thought he did a really good job of responding and being engaged on the bench. So when he got his name called again, he was ready to go.
And, yeah, obviously a strong close to the game. He had 15 and just made really big plays down the stretch, as did a lot of people, as Red mentioned there, kind of listed off a few guys that made plays. And, a guy that it put you in position to win was Jesse Edwards. Career day, 27 points, does it on the court he got hurt on last year that cost him the rest of the season. Sometimes that can mess with you a little bit. Clearly did not for Jesse. What'd you make of his game? He's going against his guy Post. They grew up together to take it to him like he did.
Yeah, he was like you said, he was phenomenal. I think the one thing where he was really good at was on the defensive end, and he had some big time blocks, and he had a couple of big time deflections late in the game. But I just think on both ends, you felt him on the court. I thought he made his presence known on both ends of the floor. Offensively, he had it going, and he was a handful of those guys. He was mobile. He was finishing plays, and then on the defensive end, man, he was just around. He was active. He was coming up to the high post, getting his hands on deflections, knocked a couple away. He came back and stood people up and got a block shot. So he was, it was his day for sure.
Red Autry joining us as he does every Monday, brought to you by Apex and the 110 Grill, both which can be found in Destiny, USA. And Red, we talked about it last week briefly, the idea that, Benny didn't play last Monday night, took a personal day. Okay, he's going to be back at practice. And he was back at practice on Wednesday and did play on Saturday. How have you noticed, after the one game off, him reintegrating himself into the group over the last few days?
Benny's fine. We got a close-knit group. This team was very close-knit, so Benny was fine. He came back and he practiced and, got himself going. And, again, it was good to see him engaged, on the bench, cheering for his teammates and stepping in and coming in and playing. So, again, he was fine. We're happy to have him back. He's been good since he's been back. So, we just, we're moving forward and trying to finish out this season.
That said, how do you think he played? It was just 7 minutes, but what did he provide for you on the court on Saturday?
He got in and, he did what he could do. I think, for, coming back and, missing the game, I think he did, he had a nice finish on an out-of-bounds play. He kind of rushed one shot, but, that's here that, that happens at times. And, I thought he was solid.
Red, I want to ask you this a little bit about what Coach said after the game, talks of retirement or not, or NIL and all that. How do you, we talk about all this stuff all week long. You guys practice basketball all week long. How do you keep the two conversations separate in the building and on the court and all that stuff?
This is the first time someone's asked me, so I don't talk to the media a lot. I don't talk to different people. So for me, an assistant coach, I just worry about getting our guys ready. And going to practice, and that's it. I can't control any of that other stuff. And that's how I always try to approach it with our guys, is just focus on what we need to do.
Yeah, and that's how you keep the lights on there and win games. Talking about the other stuff, that's how we keep the lights on here.
Right.
That's what everyone wants to talk about around these parts for darn sure. But here you are. We can see, if you're watching on QSportsTalk.com, and you can see Red in his office. The lights of the Mello Center are on behind him. Practice will be starting before too long, and you guys will be getting ready for Florida State coming up on Wednesday. What are you making of the Noles right now, Red? Because it feels like Florida State has the same team every year. They got 8 million guys. They play really well. They win a lot of games. And then we get to this year, and for some reason they're not winning at the clip that they have under Leonard Hamilton recently. What do you notice about this year's FSU team that maybe is different than the last few?
Well, they lost one of their better players, Cameron Fletcher, who's out for the year. He was probably going to be the leader of the team. And then I know the other talented freshman, Bob Miller, he was unavailable for the first 15 to 16 games. So they just kind of got off to a rough start. But once ACC play hit, out of their win total, 6 of them, a bulk of their wins have come in the ACC, and one, including one on the road at Pittsburgh, we all know is having a fabulous season this year. So a very talented team. They still the same, long with a lot of guys. A couple of guys that in particular that can really shoot the basketball, and defensively they're playing better. They're playing better. They just got up to a slow start, and so it'll always be tough. They're going to defend. Leonard Hamilton teams always defend, block shots, and they play a lot of guys, like you said.
Yeah, they recently had a 3-game losing streak before they beat Louisville, but it's the 3 of the best in the league, in Miami, Clemson, and NC State. But had the Pitt win before that, beat Notre Dame on the road before that. When you evaluate this team, Red, and you're watching film on it, how different does it look on tape here the last month or so than if you pop in something from back in November or December?
You mean our team?
No, Florida State.
Florida State. I think they've had the addition of Baba Miller, who's a talented freshman from Spain. So they've added another talented player along with Caleb Mills and Worley and Matthew Cleveland. I'm probably leaving out a couple other guys because they have so many. And I think those guys are all they're just playing better now. They kind of like whole. Like when you have a lot of guys missing, or some people may practice. Like Baba was practicing, but he probably couldn't play. So he couldn't play. So he's practicing probably, but he couldn't play. So I think sometimes that's an adjustment, because you have a guy in practice and then you get to the game, he's not there. So I just think they're starting to gel as a team, and I think you see that in their wins and their games, and even those games that he played. Some of those games, they went down to the wire or they were up. And they've been up a lot in most of those games. They just haven't finished the games well.
Yeah, they started 1-9 in the season. They are 7-7 since. So that's going back to literally the first week of December. Right. So not that they've been a great team, but they've been a 500 team here over the last 2 months or so. So that's a whole different animal. So what are you looking forward to in this game, Red? We talk about Jesse coming off a big game. Judah had it going down the stretch. Didn't even mention Joe had 18 points. So what stands out as a key to beating Florida State for you on Wednesday?
Well, obviously we need those 3 to play well. We like for them to play well, but we just got to keep defending, taking care of the basketball, getting the shots that we want. and finishing off plays on both ends. Finishing out on the defensive end, getting rebounds, finishing off, knowing who their shooters are, and then getting back in transition because they like to push the ball a lot. So we just want to make it difficult for them, make them earn everything, and then on the offensive end, just taking care of the ball and trying to get the ball to where we need to get it to.
All right, good stuff. Safe travels down to Tallahassee tomorrow, and we'll all be watching on Wednesday night. We'll talk to you again next Monday.
Thanks. See you guys next Monday.
That is Adrian Autry, brought to you every Monday by Apex on the 110 Grill, both of them located in Destiny, USA. I didn't really necessarily want to ask Red about the whole Boeheim thing. Like, it's just so far afield from, what the assistants are doing on a day-in, day-out basis. Like, they're not, like he, Jerry, and Griff, they're not oblivious to the outside world. Like, they're aware of what's going on. But at the same time, like, that stuff, like all the stuff that we talk about all the time, with good reason. Like, Red's going to, my bet is, okay, we're done now. He's going to get up. He's going to leave his office. He's going to walk downstairs. And a practice officially starts at 4. I bet there's guys on the court right now. He's going to go down there and they're going to do basketball stuff. And they're going to play basketball. Like, it's a very different way they have to approach it than the way that we get to approach it. Good, bad, and otherwise. Like, he's going to go downstairs and Chris Bell and Justin Taylor and Benny and, John Bull and whatever, whoever's hanging out in the forwards group today doing forward stuff, Kadir Copeland, maybe. And, they're going to go downstairs and do basketball things and not worry about who the next head coach is going to be and not worry about when Jim Boeheim's retiring and not worry about NIL or any of that. Weird times, man. Weird times. As said, I said at the beginning of the show, for the lack of seriousness or gravity or, oh my God, that just happenedness of everything that's gone on in the last few weeks that we've talked about, man, like the alarm levels have risen way up here. I'm holding my hand very high compared to the actual stuff that's happened and been said, compared to some of the crazy stuff, like legitimate, just, whoa, that just happened stuff that we've had over the last 30 years of watch of this program. Like, we've woken up before, what? The head coach is suspended for 9 games? What now? Like, there's been a lot of crazy stuff. This ain't that. Now, different story if the stuff should have been said out loud in the hallway or wherever. Whatever. We can talk about it. We can talk about basketball. We can talk about that. Glad to talk about any of it with all of you. 315-437-7644. Break now. We will motor along after this on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.
This is Orange.